Hey everybody, happy 4th of July. It is Professor Parish and this is English 109. So we are on week 5. So we are officially at the halfway point, moving into the second half of this semester. And so I hope you guys have had a great 4th of July weekend. I know some of you may have tomorrow. I'm recording this on Sunday the 3rd. Some of you may have tomorrow the 4th off. I hope you have a great holiday. So as if you've not completed the assignments for this coming week, we did have our midterm exam and those other assignments that were due by this evening. Please make sure you got them done. I will be off of work tomorrow for the 4th, but then I'll be back and I will probably start grading on the 5th. The assignments. So I'll be starting to grade your compare and contrast essays, looking at your exams and everything. I may grade the discussion forum tomorrow because I do like to read through everybody's discussion forum posts. So I may do them tomorrow during the day, and then I'll start grading the other stuff next week. But we're going to talk about week 5, which is module 5, and it's July 4th through the 10th. And so we've got 4 assignments this week, so it's one less than usual. Not quite as crazy as this last week. So if you've gotten a chance to work ahead, you're welcome to do so. But let's talk about the Module 5 guide. So we're looking at the chapter on narration in our textbook, which is pages 205 to 215, chapter 8. And then we have our discussion forum, the writing prep for the narration paper, the textbook activity, and reading response number 2. So let's talk about that discussion forum first. And some of y'all have started to do it, which is great. So this basically is going to talk about narration, about exposition, and about different things involving narrators in writing. I really like this video. It's a lot of fun. I did make a note on here. The narrator has a pretty thick British accent, so you may have to listen closely or watch the video over again. It's not a long video though, so if you have to rewatch parts of it, it shouldn't take you too much time. But I remember the first time I watched this, I really liked the content. I put on the subtitles in the YouTube video, but it did take me, I had to rewatch it a second time because I was like, oh, that accent's so thick. But you all may not have any trouble with it. But basically, once you watch the video, I do have 3 questions for our discussion forum. One is based on the video in Chapter 8 on narration, on narratives. What is the importance of a narrator and in a narrative piece of writing? Why are narrators important? Second, Robert Downey Jr.'s character Harry in the film Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is a really good film. It's fun. How is he different than our typical narrators that we like to think of in regular stories? And then finally, how could you use narration or a narrator in your own writing assignment? So this can come in a variety of terms. I'm very curious to know, based on Chapter 8, which is pages 205 to 215 in this video, what you guys think of the use of narrators and narration in your papers and how you can apply it going into this 3rd paper. I have a lot of people say that they like the 3rd paper a lot. We'll talk about that here in the writing prep. Narratives, I feel like, is the easiest paper because it's really coming from your perspective. It's about an event that you are familiar with, that you've had in your life happen, and you can pretty much talk from your own experience, so it shouldn't be hard to put together the outline for what you want to write about. So for the writing assignment, the writing prep for narration, and this should be Chapter 8. I'm looking, this was not updated for my old writing example. You are going to tell me like what is the topic for your narration paper, and then what are the outlines. And I've had students do a variety of different papers. I've had students write about like winning the game their senior year of high school, whether it be a sport, or talking about competition if you're on like the speech team or something. Or I've had students write about an important event that's happened in their life. I've had so many papers written about like broken bones, like family members, like moving experiences, the grieving process. There's so many different papers you can write about with narrative, but I just want to know, what are you planning to write about? And then what points will your paper talk about? And you can kind of structure it like this outline here, like we've done in our last paper. So if you don't want to write about yourself, you don't have to. For a narrative, you can write about a friend, a family member. I had a student once back when we had the May 8th storm here in Harrisburg. I had a student that wanted to write about how their community came together after the May 8th storm. And so it was a narrative paper about community and cooperation and people coming together, and that was fine. The thing is, your paper needs to be nonfiction, it needs to be a real event, and it needs to be about either yourself or someone that you know. I don't want a biography. I don't want anything like that. No, I want this to be about an event that's happened to you, a family member, or a friend, and that's going to be your narration paper. So that is the writing prep for this week. And then your textbook activity number 5, I'm going to pull it up here. Textbook activity number 5 is basically going over verb tenses. This one should be pretty easy, just talking about like There are 10 verbs on page 143 in the review test number 2 questions. There are 10 verbs in the present tense, and you need to write them into the past tense. So for example, if it says invites, you change it to invited. So those should be pretty easy, right? But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then review test number 3 is going to ask you for the incorrect pronoun and replace it with the correct one. So if it should be they and they have you, you change it over. So I just want to know the correct pronoun for numbers 1 through 10. Review test number 9, numbers 1 through 5 should be, you combine these 3 to 4 statements into a complete sentence. You can omit repetitive or unnecessary words. So I will say this, a lot of students get this assignment wrong. It seems easy, but these last 2 assignments, I have a lot of students get them wrong. With this review test 9, you're getting 4 statements. You are combining it into one complex sentence. There should be only one sentence that you end up with. Some students give me like 2 or 3 sentences. I'm like, no. You should make it one sentence. You can omit words that are not necessary, but it needs to be one complete sentence. It can have commas, it can have semicolons, it can have conjunctions. It just needs to have one sentence made out of those little 4 fragments, right? And then the review test 10, you're taking the 2 sentences and making them into a one complete complex sentence. So you're taking 2 simple sentences and making them into a complex one. All right. And it's an easy assignment, but I have a lot of students get it wrong. So I want to make sure that you understand that. With these last 2 assignments, you are going to end up with one giant sentence at the end. It just may involve commas, semicolons, conjunctions, and you may have to leave out any repeated words by chance. But that is the textbook assignment. And then finally, we have our reading response. And for the reading response, I like this assignment a lot. When I was in grad school, we had to read 2 stories in my creative writing class. We read a story called Tweak and a story called Beautiful Boy. And the class was split in half. And the first half of the semester, we read Tweak. My group read Tweak. And that was a story about Nick Sheff. And he's a boy who, during his teenage years, he gets addicted to a lot of different substances, such as methamphetamine, heroin, lots of other drugs he gets addicted to, and he goes through rehab. And so while he was in rehab, his therapist there told him that it might be a good idea for him to write about his experiences and how he felt. And so that's what Tweak is. Tweak is just him, like an autobiographical account of him coming out of addiction. And then Beautiful Boy was written at the same time by his father, David Sheff, who was a journalist. And so his father was writing about how, as a parent, you handle a child having an addiction and what you can do to support, and feelings of guilt and things like that, and incompetency in helping him. And so both stories, our class split into 2. We read both stories, but we read one first and then the other. And then you'll notice when you read the stories is that Beautiful Boy, and which was made into a movie a few years back, but Beautiful Boy and Tweak, there are events that happen in both books that overlap, and they're the same event, just one's told from Nick's perspective and one's told from David's perspective, and they're different. It's the same event, but the perspectives are different, and you're like, oh wow. So this article here is on memory from newscientist.com. So this first link here is just a short interview with both Nick and David Sheff about the stories basically, and about addiction. And then this second article, I will go ahead and tell you that a New Scientist, it's only going to give you part of the article, right? So if you get on here, you're going to be able to read the first couple paragraphs, and then it's going to ask you to join to read the rest of it, but you don't have to. I think if you read the first couple paragraphs here, you will get enough to answer the questions for the reading response. So just do that and watch the video. And so the 3 questions I have are: question 1, Nick and David Sheff have different but similar memories of each other and their state of being during Nick's teen to adulthood. How does the article on memory help to explain this? Question 2, Nick's memory could be skewed due to his addiction, but David is only an outsider in Nick's life. Can we treat either Nick or David as reliable narrators for telling Nick's experience? So can we trust Nick with his account because he was addicted and withdrawing from drugs at the time? Can we rely on David's account because he's a parent and he kind of wants to present himself in a certain way as well as his son? So can we rely on them as narrators? And I am curious to know your opinions about that. And then finally, how does the idea of narration help us to understand how we as individuals can have different views of a situation or memory? That's the thing. We can all be in the same room when an event happens, but have very different memories and perspectives about that event, which is kind of crazy. So I'm curious to know your answers for these 3 questions. Please make sure that you have them in essay format. So there's a brief introduction, brief conclusion, and they're not numbered or anything, that they're just paragraphs answering the questions. All right? So that is it for this week. There's no grammar things, just the reading response, the textbook, and then the writing prep for narration and your discussion forum. So should be a fun week. I like narration a lot, so I like this weeks 5 and 6 are a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get your opinions about a lot of things that we talk about this week. But yeah, I will be in the office on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. Thursday, I have a conference I have to go to, so I will be out of the office on Thursday, but I will be answering my email all day Tuesday and Wednesday if you have any questions, and I'll try to get on Thursday afternoon if anybody has any questions and answer then. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week, y'all, to talk about week 6 of English 109. Bye.